So here's a short video showing the Kumu-3D printer. I guess I'll zero in on the carriages here. I use some rather long bolts because in the future I'm planning on experimenting with a flying extruder. But you can use shorter M3 bolts there. And in here you can see how it goes eccentric, a black plastic spacer, the wheel, black plastic spacer, and an eccentric on the other side. And that's for tightening. I marked the corner of the eccentric that the bolt goes closest to with a black mark so that it's easy to tell that they're both the same on both sides and to know which way to go to tighten it or loosen it. Okay, here I'm printing a part down here. It's coming out pretty well. You can see the 3 fans, the lighting, the E3D hot end. I put a little bit of 1/4-inch Kapton tape around the blue E3D sock. It helps keep the heat in just a little bit. It helps keep it in place. It doesn't cost much. Here you can see I had to use a little bit of glue to hold that in, to hold the power receptacle in. And note, when you get these, oftentimes they don't bother to put the fuse in there. You need the fuse in order for the darn thing to work. And here's the Easy SMZ display. And in there, you can just, at the tip of my finger, you can see the SD card. And that's a second SD card. I use Windows 7 on my PCs, and it just isn't very reliable for communicating with Smoothie. So I often just put things right on the SD card. There's a variant of this display that takes a TF card. Don't get that one. And it's a micro SD card. It's a little bit difficult to get it in there, but it's really not too bad. Here you can see how the A bracing goes. It's not important for it to go right up to the edge. Let's see. Also, if the A bracing is attached down here, I mean, that's the way I've always done it. But I realized that if I attached it up here, up there instead, then this would be shifted slightly and it would give a little bit wider printable radius. Right now, the bed is about 300 millimeters in diameter and the printable radius is about 250. And so that would give probably at least another 10 millimeters. Down here you can see the motor, you can see the dampener. This machine uses the normal width pulleys. I think they're for 6 millimeter wide belts, and usually they make the pulleys 8 millimeters wide. And up top you can see those are 623 ZZ bearings, and then I put a little washer in between. And here you can see the little M3 bolt that goes all the way through and almost touches the corner. Here you can see a little bit of either tape or heat shrink tubing I did to protect the wires from the sharp corners. So the wires for the sensor go up through these 2 holes and then down through this hole, down to the bottom, and then off to the AZ SMZ board that you can see some lights glowing on down there. It's a bamboo skewer. And here I've tucked away the Z sensor. I only use it when I'm setting up, but if you do make changes, it's convenient to leave it connected so that you don't have to remove the glass, because if you remove the glass, then you kind of should recalibrate afterwards. It may change things slightly when you move it. I've got the bed suspended at exactly 3 points, because 3 points define a plane, and that way the glass isn't getting torqued or twisted in any way. Right now it's printing very slowly because it takes less than 30 seconds to do each layer, so it slows down. Here's the extruder. It usually works very well. I've been very happy with it. Here you can see the bearings on the spool holder. Those are most of the tricky things. Oh, the reason for this, this is my second unit. The reason for this extra fan here is if you wipe the bed down with water, it makes it a lot quicker and easier to get it to dry. Here I cut a hole to make the fan, you know, blow the air out. It keeps things a lot cooler. And this one's a 12-volt power supply, and that's a 24-volt fan. So the fan is just running at half speed. Normally I use 12-volt power supplies in these things, but this one I wanted to experiment with and see how 12 volts would do. Over here you can see the wiring for the board. Sorry, it's a wee bit messy, but everything is labeled. Let's see, in back here you can see the power wiring, and over here you can see the power wiring off the back of the power supply. Note, because this machine has a 12-volt power supply, there's no way to run enough current to heat the bed using the MOSFET transistor on the AZSMZ. So instead, the MOSFET transistor controls this 12-volt relay, which switches the power. And that uses bang bang. That's not the normal way to do this. The normal way to do this is with 24 volts, but when I was putting this one together, I didn't have enough 24-volt stuff to make it all work. I think the other printer just finished. Go back over there. Part's pretty nice. This is going to be a carriage for a different printer, an old Castle Clear that I've been working on. And I want to stiffen up the carriages. Let me think. I'm going to put the phone down for a sec. Well, I don't really have to. I'm going to disassemble this so you can see the extruder. Darn, the one time I wish the other magnet was the stronger one. Okay, there we go. So here's the bottom of the extruder. So you can see the light ring. You can see the, one thing I usually try and do is I try and keep the fan away from the ends of these metal things because they may channel the magnetism from the magnets. And sometimes these fans are so weak that with the slightest magnetic field nearby, they won't spin. That's not good. And let's see, by my little finger down here, which is moving, you can see the hole where I run all the wires through. Usually I put a little bit of grease on the ball studs, especially after the first couple days of printing. I often use super lube, but you can use almost any kind of grease. I just want something that'll stay put and won't drip off. Like 3-in-1 oil would be too liquidy. This particular printer has a modification. It's using 9mm wide belts, which are at least 50% stiffer. And the problem is you have to get much wider pulleys. You can get them on eBay if you look. And then I redesigned this piece up here and put an extra 623 non-flanged bearing in the middle. Oops, sorry, my camera worker's a little off. But that way it made it slightly more than 9mm wide. I think that's everything. If you have any questions, just let me know.